Good morning, everybody. Welcome to ReelQuick, episode 88. Our movie review of the week will be Before We Go from 2014, Chris Evans' directorial debut. This movie was recommended by Stefan Johnson. He's a patron, and honestly, he was in my Twitch. He was like in one of my Twitch streams, and we were talking. And he said it's a movie he really enjoys, and then he recommended it on the Patreon. So I figured I'd throw him a bone, and we'd review that this week. This is a movie he really enjoys, so sorry for the review that's to come. I'm sure I've seen our two scores, and I don't know if he'll love them. But starting off, this is Chris Evans' directorial debut. Like I said, Before We Go is about two strangers stuck in Manhattan for the night. Wait, okay. Let me start that over because this is a weird synopsis, but maybe I'm just reading it wrong. Two strangers stuck in Manhattan for the night grow into each other's most trusted confidants when an evening of unexpected adventure forces them to confront their fears and take control of their lives. So it's basically a rom-com, rom-dram, whatever you want to call it, starring Chris Evans and Alice Eve. I believe this is the only thing I've ever seen Alice Eve in. I don't necessarily know her all that well. It looks like she was in Men in Black 3, which is a movie I loved as a child. So maybe I should have recommended her, or maybe I should have noticed her. But Tyler, we'll start with you. I saw you gave it a 2 out of 5, 4.4 out of 10. Give me your quick thoughts on Before We Go.
Yeah, so I didn't love the movie. I gave it a 2 out of 5, like you said, but I guess I can see why people would like it. Like it's a pretty inoffensive movie. Like there's nothing in it that like I there's never a point where I saw it, I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like, but it's interesting. Alice Eve, something about her the whole movie looked so familiar to me. Like I thought for some reason she was an actress in a ton of stuff, and then similar to what you just did, I looked through her IMDb and I'm like, I just can't find anything that I would have seen her in before. But something about her, like I was just like, I feel like I've seen you in something. But yeah, there's Chris Evans' directorial debut. It's also his directorial swan song, I guess, because it's the only movie he's directed. But I mean, yeah, that it doesn't really surprise me. Like this came out. I mean, Captain America had already come out at this point, but obviously he had a billion other MC movies after this. So I feel like he just was able to squeak in one movie as a director, and he probably realized immediately, he's like, yeah, this is probably something I got to save for like the latter half of my career because I'm just too busy as an actor right now to be able to direct and write movies as well. I don't know. He's really charming in this. I feel like part of it is like he did direct the movie, so I feel like he made himself like gave himself a lot of great lines, gave himself a lot of cool scenes to make him like a really charming, cool dude. Because I just really liked him throughout the movie. I was like, I just genuinely liked his character. Alice Eve, on the other hand, I really didn't like. Kind of like I mentioned when I first started watching, when I texted the group chat, I was like, I think she's just really rough. Like I thought, especially the first few scenes she was in, because obviously every rom-com at rom-dram has the typical, like once the two people that start to have a budding romance meet, they usually always like, you know, don't get along or they butt heads or something like that. And I just thought at the beginning, she just was really rough in those scenes. And I think the peak that she ever got to for me was like average. So she was like bad to average the whole time. Whereas Chris Evans, I thought was pretty good, but I have more to say, but I'll cap it off with my score before we kind of go into talking about the movie a little more. But I'll say right now, it's a 4.4 out of 10 for 2 stars for me. Very inoffensive little rom-com. I mentioned this in my review, but it's literally Before Sunrise, but like an American version that's not as good.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Like I feel like Chris Evans, like after the first Avenger came out, he got a lot of money in his pockets. Obviously, he already had Fantastic Four money, but he was probably just sitting there and he like was on set of the MCU, some movie one night and watched Before Sunrise. He's like, I'm going to make one of these. This is going to be my first movie. Is going to be a new Before Sunrise Manhattan version. But yeah, not nearly as good. But yeah, 2 stars for me. Definitely, like, it sounds like a really low score, which it is, but didn't hate my time with it. It's just I just didn't really get anything from it.
Yeah, I gave it a 52 out of 100 for 2.5 stars out of 5. It was fine. And I gave it that, like, it's a movie I won't revisit. I'm sorry to say. Like I won't go back to it. It had a pretty good ending, actually. I did enjoy the ending a bit. I think Tyler, you mentioned that in your review, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just not one I fell in love with. And I'm kind of on the opposite side. I didn't mind Alice Eve. Like I didn't think she was winning an Oscar, but I didn't mind her. I don't like Chris Evans as like nice sappy guy. I think I've decided after this and after Ghosted, I think he's great as Captain America, where he's a really nice guy, but he's also like, I am the best person on earth. Like I am the super soldier. I am Captain America. I can't see Chris Evans as like a quirky guy who doesn't get the girl. Like, it's fucking Chris Evans. He's one sexiest man alive. I've mentioned that during Ghosted when they make him. This is not nearly as bad as Ghosted, by the way, but I don't think they made him like an unattractive man or give him asthma in this one, but I think he plays himself like too casual for what Chris Evans is. Like, when I see him, I just think I'm like, yeah, that dude's just good looking and he's gonna just be the guy. I think he directed this pretty well, actually. I really like the start of it. Different shots of Manhattan. So I would give him props for that, like you said. So before this, he only had the first Avenger, and then he had that cameo in The Dark World, and then he also had the Winter Soldier that came out the same year. So and the Avengers, obviously. Sorry. So he was kind of in his, like, he was in the peak of the MCU, I would say. Like, he's really at the top, and like you said, probably way too much time spent doing the MCU, as he's going to be doing like everything to come. Obviously, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, all that jazz is to come. So I'd like to see him back directing again. I don't think this movie had any problems with him directing. I don't know. When I was watching, I think he's very charismatic, and I know he is, and he's charming and everything. I don't love him in the rom-com role. I think I like him as a dick in like Knives Out, or when he's like kind of beat up in like Snowpiercer, or he's even a dick in Fantastic Four. Or if he is going to be the nice guy like Captain America, I like when he's just the super soldier, like peak image of what man should be, because he's just fucking, God, he's hot. I'll say it. I'll admit it. So I don't know. I don't love him in the rom-com role, I noticed while watching this, but I don't know. Movie was fine. It's not something I'll revisit, but like you said, it's not a like offensively bad movie in any way. It's very straightforwardly pretty good to okay. It's just nothing changing the game, we should say. But those are my quick thoughts.
Yeah, I guess I like Chris Evans' character more than you, but it is interesting that he wasn't a writer on this; he just directed it. But I still feel like as a director, even if you're not a writer, you have some influence, because I feel like, and again, like we talked about this before, Ghosted's a movie that just went in one ear, one out the other, so I don't fully remember his character in that. But in this, it seemed like every line he got, every plot point he got, like there was nothing that really made him seem like a bad guy. So I was like, that's why I guess I was saying I liked him as a character in terms of like I liked the guy, but I feel like it was because he directed the movie, and I feel like he had a major influence in this, because I feel like they just made him just like, they gave him home runs of lines. Like, he was such a cool dude, like stealing back her purse, getting into fights,
that's
doing
fair.
anything for her.
I don't love, so this movie is all about, like, at the very start, he's playing, what was it? Trumpet in the Red Eye. What is that? I'm not from New York.
I think it was Grand Central Station.
The Grand Central Station. Yep, that's exactly what it was. He's playing trumpet in Grand Central Station. This woman runs by. She's about to miss her train. Her purse got stolen earlier in the night, so she doesn't have anything. She does miss her train, and then, he swabs her up. I'm not saying they made him like how bad they did in Ghosted, where in Ghosted, he's just like this hopelessly, desperately in love guy who can't get the girl. And it's like, he has asthma, so he can't run. And it's like, this fucking Chris Evans. Like, yes, what are we doing here? But in this, they do give him like a lot of good lines. So he does get we won't get into that. Fuck it. This whole thing's spoilers. We never do non-spoilers and spoilers, do we, in the ReelQuick reviews? No. He doesn't end up getting the girl, and that's kind of what we liked about, like I said, I liked the ending. It's like they both go in their separate ways, but they had this wonderful night together. Exactly like you said, before sunset. But he's just, I don't know, if any other dude was like doing this much to be with a girl he'd never met before, they'd be creepy as hell. But because it's him, it's fine. That's kind of, I was like, I don't ever buy like the 4-hour romantic love. Like they've fallen in love and they'll never see each other again, but they have this one night. I don't really buy that. I did in Before Sunset, because I think the two actors in that, Ethan Hawke and then what's her name? Give it to me.
Julie Delpy.
Julie Delpy were fantastic, and I think they sold it, and the writing sells it, and everything about that movie was like top tier. But I didn't buy it in this one. I'm not in for that.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I don't know why I do buy it more in like the Before trilogy than this, because like you said, I agree, I do, but I don't know, for some reason, like Chris Evans, obviously he's a hot man, let's just say like it is, but still, like even the hottest of hot man in America, at least, like I feel like Grand Central Station, middle of New York, you're alone at night. I feel like even 10 out of 10s in real life for men are still going to get like a cold shoulder from women if they try to pull something like this in real life. Like just go up to a woman alone in a new city that's just abandoned and be like, hey, like I'll get you where you need to go. I feel like, but in Before Sunrise, I think maybe it's because Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in the first one were clearly like much younger. Like they were like basically college age students. So I felt like it felt more innocent. Whereas this, they're like clearly like working adults that like have a life.
In that they're traveling through, again, man, I can't remember anything.
I can't remember what country it was. I think it might have been like Amsterdam or something, but I don't know.
I think it might be Amsterdam. They're just, like you said, they're college kids traveling through Amsterdam, basically. And that's what they look like. In this, the twist is that this woman is married, but her husband just was cheating on her and she was leaving him. But then she realizes like halfway through, she actually loves him, wants to work on it, yada, 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 whatever. But in this, like they're married people and they're like 30, we'll say 35-ish. Like they very much look that too. And it's just, I don't know, maybe this is my ageism coming out of where I don't buy it as much that you're like young and frantic through Manhattan and you're going to find the love of your life just like creeping on someone through Manhattan and trying to buy them a cab and then like saving them in an abandoned alleyway, or not saving them, but walking with them in an abandoned alleyway, that kind of thing. It just, it didn't hit for me.
Yeah, and I feel like they like clouded her character in so much unnecessary mystery. I don't know if I've just been watching too many thrillers lately, but I think from my interpretation, like the whole movie, I felt like they were trying to set it up like maybe she's like a criminal. Like, is she really maybe she's like a thief, or like maybe she has some plan? Because like she was always frantically calling her husband, and like the big reveal was that like she thought, or he was cheating on her like emotionally, but was going to cheat on her physically, but then he kind of pulled away, so then she kind of changed her mind. But it felt like the whole build up to that, they were trying to make her think like make her seem like some super shady woman. Like, what are all these, like, what is this? Like, you need to go grab this from my apartment before he sees it. Like, I don't know. I guess until the reveal, I wasn't thinking it was going to be something romantic. I thought they were trying to set it up to be like, maybe she's like a scammer. Maybe she's like a dangerous person. Like, cause why is she like have to get out of New York? She's like, I have to be back in Boston by like this morning, or else it's like some life or death situation. But like, and then the thing about what actually it ended up being is, so her husband was emailing this woman in like North Carolina or something, I think, a bunch, really emotional, intimate stuff, personal stuff. And then he went on a business trip and they were planning on meeting up and, you know, hooking up. And I guess from what I remember, they hadn't before, but that was like the first time he was going to go and like do it.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then kind of what happens is she finds out that he's going to be coming home early, which basically means like he didn't end up actually seeing her in person. So she wrote him a note and left like her wedding ring there. Is basically like, I'm breaking up with you. Like, I know you've been cheating on me, or you're going to cheat on me. So we're over. She realizes he's not going to go through with it. He's going to come back home. So she's like freaking out, trying to get home and grab the letter and ring before he sees it. But I guess everyone has different definitions of cheating. But for me, I really don't think it's that big of a deal to like rush. Like, I feel like I feel like that letter is still warranted. Like, if he's emotional, like, he was planning on it the whole way. Like, I don't get why she's like, oh my God, my life's over, I don't take it. It's like, he deserves like to be chewed out at the very least. Like, breaking up would even be warranted to me. Like, but she was like, oh my God, he's actually a good person. Like, I can't, like, I was like, I don't know. I feel like he's a pretty shitty guy still.
Yeah, he's probably not great. I'm not saying like, I don't know. It's what they said they'd have a conversation still, or she'd hear him out kind of thing. But it was one of those things where I don't know. I feel she's not going to get the letter back, right? Because they end up leaving in the morning when the train station opens. So she's going to have that conversation anyways, which I think is better, I guess. But I don't know. I'm kind of with you in the sense that it's still, it's emotional cheating at that point. It's not like maybe physical, but emotional.
Yeah, it's something like maybe some people can save their marriage, like they'd be able to save their marriage there from it, but it's like it's not something like she needs to completely like remove her feelings from, be like, this conversation no longer needs to happen. But it's like, and I can see why people do like this movie, because like you mentioned at the beginning, the ending I do think is really good. The final scene is super good, and I purposely was like cautious when I was doing my review to not let that make me overrate it, because I do think it was a really good ending. But I don't think like the 2/3 of the movie leading up to it, or I guess like more like 9/10 of the movie, because I really just like kind of like the last like 5 minutes, I don't think the movie leading up to it merited that great of an ending. So like, it was an awesome ending, but I don't think the rest of the movie lived up to that. So I was like, I have to pull back my expectations a bit. But I can totally see why, like, if you throw this on as a casual watch, you're not paying that much attention.
For sure.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it, and then when the ending hits, you'll be like, oh, that was actually really good and really creative. Yeah. And then They did the classic like be mysterious, like what did he actually write on the back of the paper, like what did he say that made her change her mind or be happy? And it's like, I don't know if it's that important, but I saw a lot of reviews be like, what the heck did he write? Like I need to know.
Really?
Yeah, I was like,
I didn't it's one of those things. I didn't really think about it after the movie, and that's my biggest problem is I knew halfway through like I wouldn't be coming back to this movie. I wasn't gripped as much as I'd want to be, but like you said, it's a very easy watch. It's an hour and a half. It's a rom-com, dramedy, whatever you want to call it. I enjoy it for just like a sit down movie, and that's about it for me. I'm sure this is something maybe like Emma and I could watch and just throw on and have a very like easy night. But outside of that, and that's why I give it like, and this isn't anything better than like a 50 out of 100 really, but a 52 because I'm like, I'm not mad I watched it in any way. Like I'll give it a little bit of a bump to just say like I would revisit it before I revisit fucking like Ghosted. Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, that ass crack movie.
Yeah, and I guess I'll also say that Chris Evans as a director, I did think he did a solid job. There was nothing that blew me away, but it definitely wasn't bad. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff in there that made me think I do want to see him again as director. So I don't know. Honestly, I was gonna say we probably won't see it for a while, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we see it like within like a next couple of years, because I feel like he's at a point in his career where he's still obviously in a ton of roles. He's a massive movie star, but you know that MCU grind of his schedule probably being completely full and always probably having to be, you know, in the gym getting jacked 24/7 is kind of over. So I feel like he's obviously still a busy movie star, but he might have more room now to direct more movies. But the IMDb trivia or the IMDb fun facts is like, it's always hit or miss for movies. Sometimes like I feel like 80% of the time there are a lot of like, I don't know, that wasn't that interesting. Yeah. But the top one is probably my favorite one of all time, just because it's just funny. It's just Chris Evans wanted to learn how to play the trumpet and do the playing scenes himself. However, he found it to be much more difficult to learn and decided to simply learn the fingering for all the notes instead of playing it. So it's kind of funny. Hilarious. It's like, you know, we know so many people like Ryan Gosling, like learn the piano for the movies, and Chris Evans like, you know, I want to do that for this. I want to learn the trumpet. And he started playing it. I bet it was like,
that shit's tough.
Yeah, I bet it was like day one, 10 minutes. And he's like, man, this whole like pursing your lips and try, like, I can't, we're just faking this, guys. Let's scrap this.
Have you ever seen the meme that's like, what is it? It's like today I'm gonna have a good mental health day, and it's like, damn, that mental health got hands. That was Chris Evans with the trumpet. He's like, man, I'm just gonna learn the trumpet. Shit, that is difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm giving up on this one, and yeah, that's hilarious that he just called it quits. But he had to do a lot for this one. He probably had to learn how to direct a little bit and all that jazz. So yeah, whatever. This movie would not be any better if he learned how to play the trumpet.
Absolutely.
If we're being honest. But I think it's kind of all we have for this one. A shorter review. Obviously, it's just Tyler and I today. But thank you, Stefan, for recommending
18
this.
Minutes. Wasn't that short?
Oh, damn. All right. Yeah, not that short. We went into it a little bit. No money laundering this week. No random cameos just to get your friends money. So Chris Evans, his directorial debut was fine. Thank you, Stefan Johnson, for the comment. Thanks for joining my Twitch stream. I appreciate that. But we will see you next time.